Good day, everybody. Let's look at some of the blog posts that I put together this week at Santa Clarita artificialintelligence.com. And what I did is I made sure that these particular posts had to do with what the new developments happen to be in artificial intelligence, which will be very important and give you some good resources on which to build out. Now, not everything is something that you would hire a service, well, my service for. There are things that you can do yourself. A couple of them happen to be with some recent changes, and I mean recent over the last year and a half, 2 years, where some people are really kind of missing the way that they can dial in their particular properties. You have a website, something like this. This is Santa Clarita artificialintelligence.com, and on this system, I put it together myself. It's nothing fancy, but it is optimized in such a way where people would go to Google. If people actually do use Google search, and you would punch in, let me make this an incognito window real quick. So people would go here. Let me shut off my super fancy high-speed stuff. All right, so now we're going to go to Google. And the reason why I have to go to Google that way, it just doesn't happen in the Chrome browser, is because I have my Chrome browser tied to the chat bot, which is OpenAI's ChatGPT. So here we're going to search for Santa Clarita artificial intelligence. So when you dial in the on-page SEO and you put it in all of the resources that you provide online, then you start showing up at the top. So now I'm actually mentioned here in Google's AI, which is super important. And then, of course, here there's different properties that I have with regard to my business. This is my podcast here. So this is on Buzzsprout, so it's going to syndicate across all different platforms. You're going to see it on Alexa. You're going to see it on the Google. You're going to see it on those different areas out there, iTunes and so on for Apple. But Santa Clarita Artificial Intelligence, that's the YouTube channel. And then here are the other different properties that I have. Now with this is what that on-page and off-page SEO is able to do for you. Plus, whenever you're doing posts and writing information, it's also going to populate to the top part of the search engine. So when people are punching in just your business or something about artificial intelligence locally, of course, they're going to be finding me. Now let's go back here to what we were going to talk about, the actual Santa Clarita Artificial Intelligence blog and what's happening. So this is the homepage, but up here at the top, you can get access to the blog. So just click here, and then I'll walk you through a few of these posts that I put together over the past few days. Now, currently, there have been quite a few changes to the way that the search engines, and this is going to be Google, actually grabs that information. Now, it does provide a result, but that result is now enhanced by artificial intelligence, if you remember. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're kind of new to this whole thing. But there was a time that when people would search on Google, they would only see just the results, what Google said was good. There were no sponsorships. There were no paid for ads. There was no pay-per-click. There was nothing like that. It was just what Google deemed to be the best result. That's how they built that magnificent reputation that they do. In fact, with all that data, all the data they've gotten from search these many years, more than likely that is going to be used and has been used in the training of their artificial intelligence. And of course, that's going to carry into them potentially outrunning everybody at some particular point. But right now, OpenAI's ChatGPT is fantastic. Elon Musk's or X or Grok is just wonderful as well. I do have both of those, and they do work very, very well. But getting back to the blog, right here, the way that people are searching now really needs to be attacked on 3 different forums. So if you do have a website or do have some kind of web presence, the first thing, of course, is, in the olden days, that search engine optimization. So you're going to need to make sure that as you are putting together content, it's going to ascribe to that. And when people are typing in just basic searches in the the regular search engines, Google, Yahoo, those sorts of things, again, and maybe not so much Google anymore because it has AI plugged into it, but they're going to be seeing about your business. And of course, the references are used. Some of the AI systems will go and look at those types of search results as well to qualify the answers that it gives. But it's giving more of an answer. It's not giving really just that search engine result. It's giving more of an answer. That's why we see the AI integration with it. And the best way you're going to be able to attack that is using something called AEO, which is A could stand for artificial intelligence. I've seen it mentioned that way, but realistically, I've seen it more answer engine optimization. So it's looking for that proper answer. So if people are asking about your business, then it's going to give that result that is an answer type format to the query or question that's being posed. The way to do that is through a traditional Q&A type format, maybe facts, FAQs, but talking about those things are really what's going to make the difference between whether your business is seen or not seen. So you have to have the content put together in that regard. Also, like when you saw in my particular case, when you see that Santa Clarita artificial intelligence pop up at the top, this is a plugged in search, but it's going to be somewhat similar. You're going to actually see that because I have taken social media content and plugged it in different ways, you're going to see that start to hit here at the top of these pages as well, where you get the YouTube results. You also get the different social media results too. You have Instagram here. Facebook is popping up at the very top. So these are resources and pages that I built out for free. It didn't cost me anything. I'm not paying for any of this placement. This is just getting good on-page and off-page, which is schema type information placed on the page. So it's more friendly to these different AI systems and also search engines when people are doing that search. Now, beyond that, another post that I put together here a couple days ago had to do with the water usage by data centers. It's something that people aren't talking about, and I think it's going to be rather interesting to watch in the future. Hopefully, the systems will become differently worked. Right now, there's certain radiator type systems, there's closed systems, there's various types of these data centers and the types of cooling that they have. The answer to everything would be a room temperature superconductor or an RTS. I believe that's technology is something that would be almost like curing one of the big diseases out there once and for all. That would really solve a lot of problems, and maybe we're just a few ideas away from being able to conquer that, and then we don't have to be concerned about water being used to cool these massive data centers. And if you want to have an idea, there's millions of gallons being exchanged and actually, basically depleted from the world's freshwater reservoirs because of these systems, and there's not very many. We have somewhere, I think I put it, I don't remember what the numbers were, but the current numbers I think were somewhere in we have 120 gigawatts of AI type infrastructure as far as pulling on the water table, and by the end of next year and the next few years we want to get at least 200 gigawatt more power with regard to data centers, and that of course does take a lot of water. Maybe there'll be a fix to that, we'll have to see. But before they start building these different centers, more than likely, if it's a drought-ridden area, probably not a bad idea, because it will go back and deplete the rest of that, the rest of the water table very, very quickly. So we'll need to watch out for that. I also put together a beginner's guide to the ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok. People had that question, where do I start? I don't really know the first thing about it. How do I get access? So I was talking to a lady the other day when I was implementing a chatbot onto her service-related website, and she was kind of watching, because I'm sharing my screen on Zoom, she's watching me go through, and she says, well, why do you do it that way? So I explained, well, I use a lot of copy and pasting, copying, highlighting, copying and pasting, the Control A, the Control C, and the Control V. So I have well, how did you learn that? Well, just time. I found it being simpler than using the mouse, because with the mouse, you can grab the text and you can right click on the text and you can copy this particular text, and then you can go to open up a document and you're able to basically paste it in there, also using the same mouse. So I did a right click, and I'm going to do a paste, and here's that same information. But in some cases for me, it's much easier for me just to, instead of doing it that way, just basically taking the test and then Control C and now I have it, and then I control V it wherever I want. And if I'm within a particular box somewhere as well, if I'm in a particular form, like right now, if I control A this, I get everything on the screen. But if, let's say, I'm in a particular box that doesn't have any kind of an outlet, then I can also grab all that text. Anyway, it's just by practice and just by learning, and something, you just practice with and you learn. All right, so, but I talked about that as well. Now let's get into the next one, the next blog that I did this particular week. There are some rules in California that are going to maybe regulate a little bit of the AI development. They're going to want some information as to what's happening, how they're building it, what the costs are going to be. Something to think about if the states, if the people in California developing AI technology find out that it becomes too restrictive, they'll probably just go to another state that's less restrictive. It's like gun laws, right? You can go California to try to buy a gun. It's not the easiest process in the world, but some other states, you walk in, you're over 18. In a lot of cases, you get to walk out with whatever you want at that same moment. There's very little checks and balances put in. You can argue both sides of that, whether that's good or whether that's bad. Who knows who's getting it? But with the development of AI, that's the other thing. If they're going to be building it in California, they're going to have to ascribe to certain rules and regulations. Maybe if they go to another state where it's not as restrictive, then of course they'll be able to build something different. Is that good for everybody? Don't know. We'll have to keep watching and see if in fact that's going to change things. But I will tell you that it does. It could run into problems because currently it does seem like things are moving rather quickly, and in fact nobody's really holding back or changing anything. So that's just a few from this past week. You can go to Santa Clarita Artificial Intelligence to check them out and see what's going on. I also put together how to build a custom GPT, which is really going to be a game changer for your business. And you're able to put those together at the systems, any of the OpenAI, either the Grok, any of the gems at Gemini, they have those. So it depends on what large language model you're using and how you want to build it out, but it's not a difficult process. And then you can actually ask the different system, as I put in that particular video, the best ways that you would ask the question to do what you want to do. So at some point here in the future, it's probably going to be less cumbersome. You'll be able just to punch it in, and then in of itself, the system's going to take whatever you ask, that prompt, even though let's say it might be very, very low bar prompt, something that doesn't have, a lot of college, a lot of education, whatever behind it, like mine don't. But it'll be able to take that, it'll turn into a prompt that was basically made by somebody that might have a PhD level in whatever you happen to be asking about. So it will just make it so that's what it thinks you want, and then it provide information. Then you give that feedback and say, well, I really didn't want all that. I just wanted, how many varieties of salad dressing are at the supermarket. That's all I really wanted. All right, so that's the information this week. I hope you're well. It's Connor with Honor. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Santa Clarita Artificial Intelligence.com. Be well. I'll talk to you soon.